A grotesque green goo, squirting a vile primordial juice all over our river.
This is not good.
The green monster, it came from the river.
Something seems to be taking over the water.
It is billions of algae particles.
Do not come in contact with the river.
5 years into the 21st century, that is how the St. Johns River looked. It's hard to believe that was an improvement. Way back in the 1970s, the city of Jacksonville was dumping 15 million gallons of raw sewage into the river every day. 90 million gallons of industrial waste each day stirred into the toxic mix. The governor said, if you fall in, you will die of pollution before you drown. In 1972, the Federal Clean Water Act and a $90 million bond issue helped Jacksonville stop the flow of sewage into the river. 5 years later, Mayor Hans Tansler actually skied on the river to demonstrate it was no longer a cesspool. But somehow, the next 2 decades saw interest in a clean river wane. Economic forces interested in cutting burdensome regulations dominated the legislature. As Florida became the fastest-growing state in the nation, the number of people living in the watershed exploded. By the 1990s, it was apparent that the health of the river was in trouble. Industrial waste, septic tanks, and stormwater runoff all replaced the pollutants which had been cleaned up in the 1970s. Fish kills and algae blooms signaled an alarm that our river was in deep trouble. News reporters wrote of the failing river system, and images of fish covered in sores covered the front pages of newspapers and TV news reports. Frustrated by the river's declining health and the lack of urgency from state agencies, a group of concerned citizens recognized the need for an independent watchdog to advocate for the St. Johns and hold agencies and polluters accountable. A steering committee began laying out action plans, but disagreements among some of the members threatened the organization before it got underway. The whole thing looked, well, dead in the water. But the founding chair, Roger Bass, was not ready to throw in the towel. He coalesced a group around the shared goal of protecting the river, and St. John's Riverkeeper became a chartered waterkeeper organization in late 1999. Job one was building trust and support from the community. Early successes included stopping construction site runoff and raising awareness of fecal bacteria in the tributaries. It's sad that these signs are still relevant. Soon, all the mounting threats to the river were summed up in one phrase.
The phrase we use is death by a thousand cuts.
Public awareness got a kick in the pants as the organization earned a reputation as a defender and voice for the St. Johns.
Who here opposes the pipeline?
By saving crucial wetlands, fighting bad policy, and taking on polluters, St. John's Riverkeeper became the river's lawyer, publicist, and educational resource. A major court victory forced the state of Florida to adopt stricter standards to reduce nitrogen pollution, which significantly improved the river's health. Advocacy continues in the courts, boardrooms, and city halls in the fight for protective policies and to hold agencies and individuals to account for polluting our river. St. John's Riverkeeper continues building coalitions of diverse community allies, engaging and activating citizens throughout the 9,000-square-mile watershed. Partnerships with local schools have allowed thousands of students to experience the river and learn firsthand about clean water and a healthy environment. Volunteers have dragged literal tons of trash from our creeks and rivers. Homeowners along the Ribault River and other tributaries are engaged in cleaning up waterways and creating more resilient neighborhoods. Anglers are working with us to restore eelgrass, and we continue to get closer to finally restoring the Ocklawaha. As the river flows through a growing state, the challenge is huge. Threats are increasing. Time after time, the voices of industry and unbridled development command the attention of legislators and regulators. Sometimes we win, sometimes we lose. Sometimes the problems are evident. Sometimes they are unseen beneath the surface of our great river system. But the one thing as constant as the river itself is that we must never give up. This river is yours. It belongs to all of us and to the generations of children to come. Clean water is our birthright, and with you as our partner, we will continue to fight for a clean and healthy St. Johns River.